Rainbow Six Siege has turned into one hell of a game over the last year, and it has quite the rare story. A AAA competitive shooter greeted with mostly rotten reviews at launch, yet absolutely determined to better itself. If you were one of the many who cast it aside upon its release, then you may want to consider giving it another chance. Siege is currently one of the most played games on the PC right now. It has a healthy player base and has managed to fix most of the issues that plagued its terrible launch. But it's also a game that will probably never reach critical acclaim. Rainbow Six Siege is not for the young crowd or the impatient. It can best be described as the freshest old game that you'll ever play. And for many of us, that might not be an attractive selling point. Today, we will look at the story behind it, the player count trends and the financial performance of the game, and discuss if Ubisoft was wise to invest so heavily in the rebirth of Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege was a game that needed a lot of love. When it first hit the scene in December of 2015, Siege was plagued by the three things that can instantaneously destroy an online video game: hackers, faulty netcode, and microtransactions. Although the real money microtransaction system was not the worst offender we had ever seen, when you coupled it with the fact that it was a $60 fully priced game with hacking and lag issues, it certainly gave critics an open invitation to bash the living hell out of it. And worst of all, Ubisoft took their sweet time fixing it. The success of a game lives and dies by its public image, and Rainbow Six Siege put itself in the crosshairs right out of the gate. A year or so later, and Siege seems like a game reborn. Matches run at a pearly white 60 frames per second, latency is hardly ever an issue, and the community of players is far more friendly than any game I've ever seen. A lot has been added to the game too, and the SWAT-style gameplay concept is perfectly simple and executed with tight, satisfying gameplay. And with the option for hesitant buyers to pick up a starter edition for just $15, how could Siege not be doing well right now? Siege is a game that has defied what we come to expect from disastrous launch titles. Normally, we expect to see player count trends in new video games decrease as time goes by, at more or less a linear, gradual pace. We expected to see Siege tank within months. However, data shows a completely different story, a rare story, where we see a staggering 275% increase from its initial average daily player counts of 8,000 to today, around 30,000. Call of Duty games see the opposite trend. Battlefield games see the opposite trend. Outside of CSGO and TF2, Siege stands out as one of the most improved shooters that has ever been made. Ubisoft has profited fairly well from this, and as a company has been thriving in the stock market with its long-term growth. Outside the stock market crash of 2008, which was brought on by the housing market crisis, Ubisoft's stock performance seems to mirror the journey of Siege. When it launched in December of 2015, Ubisoft's share price plummeted for the following 10 weeks before going on the rise thereafter, just like the player counts did in Siege. And like Siege, Ubisoft's financial performance ultimately got better and better through 2016 on a relative scale. Although Siege, of course, did not cause this on its own, Ubisoft released many more titles during this time, including Far Cry Primal and The Division. It most certainly helped improve Ubisoft's public image. Ultimately, this may have led to a more favorable disposition by investors interested in fighting for stock in Ubisoft, which may have driven the price of the company up overall. If I had to sum up Siege in one word, it would be paranoia. I suffocate in tension when I play Siege. Maybe because I'm relatively new at the game, but I do think that the concept of Siege breeds this kind of exciting stress. Siege's primary mode has teams of 5 compete for simple objectives: rescue a hostage, team deathmatch, or bomb defusal, while engaging in sort of a breaking and entering style gameplay loop. The best part about Siege is that eerie silence stands next to frantic, quick-to-kill gunplay. Any moment in Siege can be your last, and that makes the thrill of living taste even sweeter. It's an exciting game. It strangles you with anxiety, it rewards you for planning, and it punishes you for being rash. Siege is a game for the patient gamer, the seasoned player, and that target market is not always good for business. This is both Siege's competitive advantage and Achilles' heel at the same time. Siege fits into what we call a niche, a very narrow and rare game ecosystem. It's a team-focused, tactical strategy shooter. You can't find a game like Siege anywhere else, but there's probably a reason for it. You're expected to communicate, work together, and behave. These are not the attributes of popular first-person shooters, and that's both a blessing and a curse. Although you'll be sure to capture a small subset of players who love this style of games, you'll never be able to capture the largest part of the first-person shooter market. Ubisoft has poured immense amounts of money into Siege to get it to a point where we can call it a great game. But was it wise to do so? Siege has many problems, not the least of which the fact that it will most likely never be a mainstream success. By Ubisoft standards, Siege's performance is nothing more than average, but it's the way in which the game transformed itself that is special. Unlike games like Evolve, Siege achieved the improbable, a game destined to fail yet turned around into success. For me, Siege is a confident game quietly humming along to its own beat, even if it's not the most popular song on the radio, and I think that's a great thing for gaming. But what about you guys? Do you enjoy the game, or would you like to have a Siege 2? What do you think about the Siege story as a whole? Comment below, I'll be happy to chat with you guys, and once again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, by all means hit the thumbs up button and subscribe here for more of our future content, and have yourself a kick-ass day.